epistolary novel and the creation of selfhood. The novel is itself a relatively new art form, as I'm sure many of you know. Arguably, it dates back to the publication of Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes in 1605. The epistolary novel was one of the most common and popular forms from the very beginning of the novel. Some examples of epistolary novels include 1669's Letters of a Portuguese Nun, the 18th century's Clarissa and Pamela. Both novels are by Samuel Richardson. Goethe's Sorrows of Young Werther, Jean-Jacques Rousseau's Julie ou la Nouvelle Héloïse, and later, in the 19th century, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley and Dracula by Bram Stoker. Each of these books hinges on the replication of letters as fictional texts within a larger narrative. For most of the history of human communication, letters were, of course, the primary literary output of women, the form most freely and publicly allowed to women. It seems to me that one of the greatest reasons for the popularity of this form of the epistolary novel in fiction is that with letters, early writers, most of whom were male, being the ones given the education and free time to write, could most authentically seem to inhabit the interior mind of a woman without the awkwardness of obvious ventriloquism. Today, I'm going to focus on my very favorite epistolary novel. It is Choderlos de la Close's extraordinary 1782 Les Liaisons dangereuses, or in English, Dangerous Liaisons. The book is written in warring letters between two former lovers, the wicked and sophisticated Marquise de Merteuil and the saturnine seducer, le Vicomte de Valmont. Choderlos de la Clos understood that when we write letters, we are, in some ways, creating a performance of self. We are writing toward an audience of one very particular person, with exquisitely specific biases and preferences and knowledge of the world. And that we curate our thoughts and images and ideas so that we appear in a certain and obvious light to that specific person. The great game of Dangerous Liaisons is this conflicting and varied presentation of selfhood. The Marquise de Merteuil and the Vicomte de Valmont wage a dark and secret war in which they compete to seduce and ruin a series of younger lovers. They're driven by a sense of wicked competition, but also they're driven by their own terrible jealousy of the love that rises unexpectedly for their prey, which ultimately interrupts their game. When we in 2020 write our letters, even if those letters do not ultimately take the form of a fictional narrative, we are replicating in a far gentler and more earnest way the kind of performative selfhood that Madame de Merteuil and le Vicomte de Valmont find so delicious in their epistles. By thinking through the person we want to present to our recipients, we enact the person we want to seem to be. We draw a kind of clear outline around the vague and cloudy self, and in so drawing, we become that person. We are telling a story about ourselves, and waiting and waiting and waiting for the USPS to bring us a story that our recipient tells about themselves in return. I find all this so thrilling. I joke sometimes in my own letters to my own recipients that it's free therapy. I'm delineating the contours of my own self through letters. And like this, through history, through the letters we have aimed like arrows at another mind, we ultimately can discover better who we are.